Happy Wu-Tang Wednesday. It's your boy Dave Noodlez. We are on Type 88 Radio, on Makerpark Radio. Super grateful to be here. It's always an amazing time. And speaking of someone that is amazing, we got my friend Hey Viv in the building. I just want to welcome Vivian Vassar to the Type 88 Radio. How are you today?
I'm fine. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very excited to be here.
So, just to give you just to let anyone know how we met, I've seen her probably do like 1,000 events, right?
Probably. We've seen each other at shows, music events, craft sales,
Yeah.
Hub 17, Snug Harbor. We keep running into each other.
What was the thing on Stapleton? With the dragons?
Oh, that would be ETG, and that would be St. George Day. St. George Day, right.
Yeah, so of course I've seen you do the pop-up shops, but maybe you could talk about how you even got into what you do, because you're a performance artist, entrepreneur. Where did kind of the spark come from?
Yeah, with all that, it sounds like I never sleep. Well, I started Hey Viv Vintage Clothing in 1986. And I started with a store in Port Richmond, on Port Richmond Avenue. And we bought the building. I was was closed up. It was pretty run down. We did all the work and we lived upstairs in the apartment. And I opened my doors one day with a bunch of clothes that I had saved up. No bags, no change, not even any receipt books. I thought, well, if I'm going to do this, let's just do it. Opened the door, people came in, and I'd say, okay, hi. They'd want to buy something. I'd have to make up a price, and that's how I got started.
Wow.
Now, 37 years later, I'm online full-time. Times have changed. The kinds of merchandise that I sell has changed. But what hasn't changed is my enjoyment of what I do. I'm really very, very lucky that I get to go to work every day and do what I like to do.
That's a blessing.
It is.
And it's just so cool too, because you're not only the clothing. For anyone who doesn't know, what kind of clothing is?
Well, I started out purely with vintage clothing, mostly from the 1950s, because in the 80s that was still very available. Then as time went on, I switched to bell-bottoms and jeans and Levi's, whatever was popular at the time. And towards the end, maybe of the 90s, I started stocking costumes, reproduction clothing, because after a while, it's a lot of time to find vintage, and it takes a lot of work. Yeah. And if you can sort of mix in some things like a Peter Pan blouse that's newly made, but it looks like it's from the 50s, it just makes things go easier. Yeah. So by the time I got to about 1999, I was already selling poodle skirts and circle skirts and Peter Pan blouses. And a friend of mine showed me eBay. We looked at it together, and I don't know what it was about eBay, but I really felt that moment of, I could do this. Now, I had never worked on a computer, never programmed or done anything like that. But I said, I can do this. Started selling on eBay, and within 1 year, by 2000, half my money was coming from eBay and half was coming from the store.
Wow. Mm-hmm. What year was this again that you were doing? You started eBay?
I started eBay in 1999.
Wow.
So sometimes when I go to eBay meetups, they say, okay, who started when? And you'll hear a 98, a 96, and then a bunch of people go 99.
Wow. And when I feel like eBay was only out a few years around that time.
Yes, yeah, it was pretty new, and people didn't always understand how to buy things. I had my phone number on the listings, and so people would call up and say, okay, I'm looking at the dress on my screen. What do I do next? Okay, look for the button, and I'd be talking them through how to buy the item on eBay. Now put your credit card in. Okay. No, it's safe. It's safe. So I became like eBay's customer service and my customer service.
That's probably before PayPal. Probably, right?
Yes, PayPal. I remember because PayPal came in and they gave you $15 to sign up for PayPal. And people were calling each other going, I don't know what this is. It's probably stupid, but they'll give you $15. So the word kind of spread. And after a while, it was $10, then it went to $5, and then it was nothing. But in the beginning, they couldn't get people to understand what it was. So they paid you to understand.
Wow. Yeah, the incentive is amazing. And I remember you told me a story when people used to have performance artists, right? At your shop?
Well, remember, this is before the internet, really.
Yeah.
So to advertise, I used to take out ads in the advance. I also ran ads on the college radio station at the College of Staten Island.
WSIA.
And I had a mailing list and I sent out postcards. But I hit upon this idea of having people come in and do music, poetry, painting. I even had a guy come in and do tattoos, which is probably illegal. So don't tell anybody. No, I didn't get one, but he was doing them for free. That's how we figured we were skirting the law. But the point was that we would do unusual things. And so the word would spread that say, I don't know, I just heard that on Saturday, ABBA was going to be there. And it wasn't ABBA. It was a bunch of us who dressed up like ABBA and went outside the store and performed Dancing Queen to the music blaring. But I would hire people, artists or musicians, to walk up and down in costume. I hired an Elvis impersonator, and I was dressed as Priscilla Presley. So it became part of the whole life of the store that I would do anything that I thought would get attention. And a guy who worked with me was a DJ, and he was a record seller. So he would sit up outside and just play old records just to get the buzz going.
I feel like that's all we see now, but for 1999 to be doing that, I feel like now that's everyone's on the street. They're doing interviews, they're doing flash dances and all this stuff. But it's just so crazy. You were on eBay probably before anyone, and you were doing kind of these viral, almost like like everything you see now on TikTok to get attention. Or
except that back then we were using VCR cameras to videotape this, because I have some videotapes, and they're in those big, VHS tapes.
That's cool.
To have to pop into the machine to see what it was like.
That's cool.
Yes.
So here you are, you're in fashion, but you're also in there's performance arts, there's artistry involved.
Right.
So maybe we could kind of talk about the birth of Dave de Dada, because I feel, was that kind of your first taste of like kind of doing these experimental performance pieces, or were you even doing it before that?
I was. That's what I went to school for.
Got it.
So I have a degree from Douglas College, which is part of Rutgers University, in performance art. And I studied with Jeff Hendricks, who is a Fluxus artist. So the type of performance that we did and learned about was Fluxus. And I don't know if you're familiar with that term, but it means, or it's a kind of art that came out in the 60s and 70s. And it tried to, people were interested in pushing the boundaries of what was acceptable art. And also they wanted to get outside the gallery system. They wanted to be outside in the world. And they encouraged each other to do participatory, to do public art, to work together, to collaborate. And in Fluxus, you're almost more interested in the process than the finished product, which sounds a little odd for performance art. But the whole setup and the planning and the getting together and the writing the scores is just as important as the final piece. After school, though, you don't make a lot of money as a performance artist. No one's going to pay me on a street to stand on a street corner and engage passerbys. So, like,
people don't know they want that, right? It's not like a product,
right? And even if you show it to them, they still probably don't.
They don't get it right away. Yeah,
no. So I started bringing my experience into the store, and that's how I started doing that kind of crazy things, because I knew a lot of performance artists who would say, "What do you want me to do? Dance in the window? Sure. What day? Time? Music? Oh, I'll bring a band." It just sort of steamrolled, not steamrolled. It's just sort of kept feeding itself.
You gave them a safe place, because artists, sometimes we want to share it, but it's like, where? And then it's like, are we understood? And then then there's kind of, as you said, you were a hiring artist. A lot of the time it's just, hey, come here. You're an artist. Just do what you do. And we expect you to do it just to entertain us, just because you love it. But you were mixing commerce, entertainment,
That's what I was
and
just
giving
thinking.
people an experiment and something they didn't even know they wanted, and something worth
And
talking
I needed
about.
to make money.
Yeah.
So bringing attention to my business helped me to make money
Yeah.
and to let me do the art that I really enjoy doing, which then leads into Day to Dada. Because by the year 2000, I had 3 kids, a newborn, a 3-year-old, and a 6-year-old, and a second store. I actually had 2 stores at that point. One was an Army-Navy store, and one was Hey Viv. One was called Yo Viv. That was the Army-Navy. And then Hey Viv was the vintage. But by 2000, eBay was going strong. I knew it was a lot of pressure to work and have kids and live upstairs. And we made the decision to move away from the store so that we have more room for the kids. And then we made the decision to close the store.
Got it.
And sell the building. Now, of course, we had a giant close the store party with a lot of performance art and puppets and a pool we set up outside on the street and, that kind of thing, the usual. But by the time I got home and I made my business in the 3rd floor of my house and started expanding beyond eBay, I realized I didn't have a venue. I didn't have a forum to do the kind of arranging and talking and collaborating, because I've always really enjoyed meeting people and saying, "Oh, Dave, you work as a DJ. Hey, could we do a piece in this park? And I have these friends who want to do a sculpture with bodies. Can you DJ?" I missed all that, because that's how you come up with ideas and performances when you meet people. The idea of Day to Dada was to have one day of Dada. Now, Dada is an earlier art movement from the about 19 teens, World War I. And I picked the word Dada because, one, I didn't think anyone knew what Fluxus was, and I didn't want to call it a day of Fluxus. And Day to Dada just rhymed.
Definitely flows.
It flowed.
Yeah.
So we did the Day to Dada, the Day of Dada. I just told people you have 10 minutes each to do anything you want, any performance piece. So many people showed up. So many people did performances. It succeeded beyond my wildest dreams.
Wow.
And at the end, with that glow of, we just pulled this off. Someone said, "That was great. When's the next one?" I'm thinking, no. So the next one was, I think, a month later. And since then, that was 2002. Since then, our group, which is a loose coalition, we call it a cooperative, it's about 10, 12, 15 people. It's people in New York. It's people in the Midwest, in Canada. And, there's groups like ours, like Day to Dada, in other parts of the country. So sometimes we'll travel and meet up with people from Chicago and just do a couple of days of performance. So we just celebrated 20 years as a group, and we had a big exhibition at the Newhouse Gallery in Snug Harbor.
Congrats.
Thank you.
That's so cool.
Thanks to Melissa and Shauna, the staff there, we put on a retrospective of 20 years. Props, costumes, scores, video. It was a lot of work, but it was pretty incredible.
That's amazing.
Right. See what I mean? I never sleep because meantime, I'm working full time. And now I sell on Walmart, Amazon, Poshmark, Mercari, my own website. It's like any marketplace that I can, I'm on.
Wow. Good for you.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's just so amazing, because I know a lot of my friends, they say, "Hey, I have my website, it's not doing too well." And I always tell them, a lot of people, there's not random people really always going on your website. It's usually people you know. So I love the fact that you're on eBay, Etsy, Poshmark, Mercari, and Amazon.
Amazon, right.
And I know Amazon, it's strict. You have to ship stuff really fast. You have to have certain criteria, which is a reason why I don't ship on Amazon because it takes me a week or so to make stuff. And
Oh,
people
right.
get
You have a
very-
lag time.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. People get a little anxious for it, which is fine. So I chose to not. But what's cool about everything you're doing, you're just putting it in so many places. You're enabling discovery.
Yes, I like that.
Yeah,
Enabling
yeah.
discovery. And I figure that each one makes sense with the others. It's not like I'm saying, oh, I'm selling, water on the street corner and I'm selling vintage clothing and I'm fax it here and I will ship your package. They all make sense and they have to do with each other. The creativity, the collaboration, the excitement of Dave de Dada, it's skills that I use in my business. The social media that I've learned through doing the business where you really need to be up on, on your game with social media.
Yeah.
I've applied that to Dave de Dada. So, but I would say a challenge, because you were going to ask me next, right? What is a challenge for me?
I feel like that is definitely because I know so many creative people that have challenge. Because
Right.
here you are, I'm great. It's amazing to talk to someone who does what they do full time. You're creating full time. You're creating creative opportunities full time, and you're selling creations full time. So, yeah, what are some challenges?
Well, I am pretty good with computers, with websites, and I know a little bit of coding, and I know how things work together. But that is the challenge, is that the technology changes, and the things that you learn this year, next year, might not quite apply, or there's something different. So right now I'm struggling with SEO for my website. I've done a lot of SEO. I've gone to workshops. I've read a lot about it, but it's almost like I can't quite get a handle on it because it's changed. And the things that I knew for so sure years ago, I have to kind of put them aside and say, maybe there's something new that I have to apply or understand.
Okay.
For example, when we first started, I started a group called the Netrepreneurs, people new to the internet with their websites. And we met once a month to exchange ideas. And we used to look at porn sites. So not like, ooh, what's that? What are they doing there? We would actually put our hand in front of like the naughty bits. And we'd say, okay, what are they doing on that? We'd look at the code. We'd go, oh, wait a minute. Look what they're doing. And we would learn, because the porn sites were the early adapters and the forerunners of tricks and best practices. So by looking at the code, we'd say, wait a minute. It says iPad. It says Britney Spears. It says Miss America in white. It was white on white letters on white background. It's now called keyword spamming.
Yeah, yeah.
But we would figure out and then all go home and do that. Not the porn stuff, but the tricks that we learned, and saying they are figuring it out and they're trying things and they're getting away with it and they're getting people to come to their sites. So through the years, I've tried a lot of different ways of learning, including workshops. But right now I'm working with the Chamber of Commerce, which has a program to help businesses. It's called Online. Oh, I don't have the name in front of me, but they're helping me find a program where I could get a mentor.
Got it.
And I think that would be very helpful.
Okay. A thing that I've seen, what's good with SEO is blog posts. Mm-hmm. So maybe like a blog where you're breaking down the inspiration of the outfit. Maybe you're putting it in the title. You could even you could even show photos like Charlize Theron wearing the poodle skirt, and then you could kind of show references and yeah.
Well, I started using AI to write my blogs.
Yeah.
Because then with AI, ChatGPT, I put the keywords in, the concept that I want to come across with, and it writes it for me, and it has the keywords in it. It has the long tail keywords. It has the things that Google wants to see. And then I take it, kind of trim it down and put it into my own voice.
Yeah.
That is a good
important.
idea.
Yeah, the blogs I think are good, and you could show references. You could also put all the links of everything, and then you could do outfit inspiration, outfit of the day, or this day in history, almost like
So something that's like sort of
Marilyn Monroe wearing the glasses that you have, right? And
yes.
and then it like, well, the glasses are $15 here or $35.
So like a consistent idea instead of just skipping around to doing different blog subjects, maybe outfit of the day once a week, or inspiration from a movie star.
Dress like Jennifer Love Hewitt. Dress like Tiffany Amber Thiessen.
Am I dressed like Jennifer Love Hewitt?
Or, but yeah,
Just look at me now.
But shout
Hollywood.
out to my friend Lyle. He actually told me to get into blogging a long time ago, and maybe even interview people that are in that game, like vintage people, and then there's like this kind of crossover. We've been fortunate to interview like 1,000 people almost.
Now, how do you find them to interview? How do you approach them?
I've been fortunate that I meet them along my journey. I've also had interns kind of scout them. I've scouted them. Also, when it clicks, it clicks. Like if I'm talking to someone, we just meet at a poetry event, I'm like, I gotta have you on the blog. Right. I try to, it's kind of part of my like daily programming now to just open myself up to getting that blog post.
Right.
And it's, for me, I don't even really get anything out of it but supporting the artist, but it's cool. I see my website getting hit all the time and people are checking it out.
The thing you're getting too is you're getting points from Google, but for being an expert, because you're hooking up to other websites that have expert status or points or juice, whatever you want to call it. So that's a smart thing to do, and especially if they link back to you. And if they're a highly ranked site and they're linking back to you, that's very good.
Yeah.
Now, if only I could figure out how to do that for my website.
Yeah.
I need an intern.
Yeah, I'm grateful. Oh, you do? No, because I have 2 organizations I work with that they say they could give virtual interns. So I could actually give you their info. I'll give you their info. I'm happy you asked.
Oh, thank you.
They literally said if you know any other small businesses. And like currently right now I have 3 interns. So I'm able to work kind of on the internet like 40 hours a week doing tasks that I'm dreading, that I wanted to do.
Sure.
Or stuff I like put on the back burner. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. My interns help me with all that stuff. I had a guy write the other day, he filled out 700 coupon cards for me that have a code, expiration date. It took him 12 hours to do.
Wow.
But he got credit for it for his school.
Right.
We get the work. So I feel like interns would be great.
I think having an intern help me with what we're talking about with the blog makes sense, because I know the technical things and I know what to do, but to get the time to track down people, to try to get link backs, that's like a whole project.
Exactly.
And I'm still wrestling with Walmart about my shipping templates.
Yeah.
And if I could take Walmart by the...
Stone Cold Steve Austin. Stunner. No, that's real. I think what I've learned by having interns, you have to have the idea to give them a prompt. Because I've had friends who have interns and they're like, my intern didn't know how to make the videos. I'm like, yeah, you're not supposed to give them high-level tasks of that you would hire a professional videographer for. You're supposed to hire them to do stuff that you should be doing that you don't want to do.
And isn't it supposed to be a learning experience for them?
Yeah,
So you might break down a task like making a video saying, I want to research best practices for social media video. So let's break that down even further. And let's say for TikTok, let's collect some information about best practices. You start with that, and then you build up.
Yeah, I try to give them prompts that they could do 1,000 different variations of too. Like I will come up with a design. I'll be like, all right, do one for this, but do it from list 1 through 2,000. And now all of a sudden I have 2,000 new designs.
Interesting. Okay.
So it's interesting because you have physical product. I'm doing made to order product.
Right.
So how do you manage all the inventory? Because that in itself gotta drive someone crazy.
It can. And years ago, we kind of stopped. I had someone working for me. His name is Fred. And Fred and I we didn't stop everything, but we kind of stopped and said, we must bring order into this chaos. We have to come up with a numbering system for SKUs, and we have to come up with an organization so that we can find whatever we're... So right now, if I sold this pen and I said, okay, this pen is EP231201-01, I know what year I listed it, what week. So if I need any information, I know what folder to go to, and I know what box 1201 is in.
Got it.
And that is, thank you, Fred. He is now working for the post office.
Look at that. Yeah,
They
just that
stole him
organization.
away. Yes. He's a very dedicated postal employee, but he was instrumental in helping me to design the system.
I like that word, system, because we need systems when we're creating, or...
Yes.
Because for a long time, I would just go to work and I had no system. It was just, let me make some shirts, I'll ship them, and then I'll have meetings. But now I have systems that kind of... So organization is key. What else is a key, you think, for running kind of an online full-time thing?
Okay, organization, an open mind about systems, because people are coming up with new apps and new software all the time. And on the one hand, it's a rabbit hole. You can go down and go, what does this do? What does this do? What does this do? It's more like you have to edit it, but you have to be open that there's going to be a system down the road that's going to replace half of what you do, and you want to be there and use it. Now, the way I find out about systems that are helpful is I go to meetups. So, for example, if Poshmark is having a Posh party in the city, I'll go talk to other sellers, and the next thing you know, they say, oh, I use Posher VA. Have you ever heard of it? No, hold on, let me get my piece of paper. Posher VA. And then I go home, look it up, and then I say whether or not I'm going to use it. So I'm not trying to look at everything, but I'm keeping my mind open.
I love that. It's so important. We have to keep evolving with this world, because as you say, trends change.
Right.
What's happening change. Like someone could wear something in streetwear tomorrow, and then the whole color palette, it could be these,
Right.
And then how so that's a constant evolving, right? And learning and being open to new things.
It is, and finding out how other people organize themselves is more helpful than me trying to look up things, because in talking to another person, like I said, I'm in several groups. I'm in a wonderful eBay group that meets once a month virtually, and then once in a while we actually meet in person. But I've learned a lot of organizational skills from that group, and I learned to use a timeline organization of projects. And I use that. I've been using that for years. And I learned it from another seller who said, oh, I use a timeline. What's a timeline? Here. She opens it up. It's a spreadsheet. I go, oh, she sends it to me. And I see how hers is organized. And I'm like, oh, I get it. And for me, it worked. It doesn't always work for everybody, because you have your own. How do you organize yourself?
It's weird. For me, I like batching. I like batching stuff. So, like, I'll do a few hours of prep, getting all the items ready, printing the sublimation sheets, getting the transfers ready, getting the garments all laid out, and having it all laid out. Then we'll batch the orders. We'll do, all right, we got 40 orders.
Right.
Let's do the ones that with the heat at 320 first. We don't want to jump back and forth.
Forth in the heat.
So I'll be like, all right, the heat, some shirts need to be printed for 320 at 15 seconds. Some need to get printed at 400 for 40 seconds. So I'll batch the ones that need to do. So I'll do, okay, 320 for 15 seconds, got 20 shirts, do those. Now move on to the 400 degrees, do those. Right. As long, like if I batch everything, it just flows.
Because you're doing the same thing over and over, and you're not hopping around from, okay.
Exact. That's huge for me. And then all the orders are ready, then it's let's pack the orders. Got to pack them, box them, and throw them and get the labels. Then that's another 2-3 hours of that.
I think that's also, that sounds too like a routine.
Yeah.
And routine really helps you to keep your focus, because you say, well, after I fill out the shipping labels, of course I have to print them. And the next thing that makes sense is this. But if you are the type of person who gets distracted or the phone's ringing, all these things, you can get very off course.
Yeah,
and the next thing you know, you're not getting anything done. So I like to tick off on a list. And I organize my each day has a list for me. And then I also have a thing that's called the daily cheat sheet. And it's the stuff that by the end of the day, I have to finish in order to keep my business running. So sometimes those would get forgotten, like checking my phone messages.
Oh, yeah.
I lost a big order because a couple days went by and I forgot to check. It was a school calling for some scarves. I never got back to them, so I lost it.
Oh, the phone call, not a message on an app. Got it.
So you think, check your messages, but you can forget.
Yeah,
So even having this short list every day, and I call it the cheat sheet because it's, making sure that I don't cheat and I don't miss these things. And so by the end of the day, I make sure I've gotten that done. And if you can get yourself into a routine and find these things that work, you can get a lot done.
Yeah.
Because I run that entire business by myself. It's all automated. I use the right programs. Everything is, click, 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 and it's done. And every time I list something, it gets bagged, tagged, and put in the right place.
Got it.
Once in a while, I will lose something, and it will drive me crazy. And I will spend the day worrying about where the heck is that black 1950s lacy bra that I have a label on. It got stuck to the bottom of a package. I did find it.
Got
Good
it.
news. So
that's nice because it's cool. You deal with. So how many items do you think you have on the internet right now in terms of available?
Well,
items?
I know I have 1,000 items on eBay, and then some of them have sizes. So you don't know whether to count those or not. On my website, I have less. I have maybe 500 because I don't carry as much on the website. And Poshmark, I know it's probably close to 1,000 also. So my goal is to get at least a couple done every day. I mean, realistically, really, I should be doing more. And some days I can do more. But if I get to the end of the day and I haven't listed anything, I will pull the next thing in the rotation because I have a rotation I do. And I go, I don't care what time it is, I'm doing this piece. And even though it's sort of taking it out of context and I'm opening all the programs, it's by the end of the day, I know I listed something, makes me feel better. Got
it. Yeah. I have that kind of, that void where if I don't list something, I think right now I have, 8,000, I think I'm at like 8,000 items. I have 7,000 on eBay, about 1,000 on Stereotype, like 300 on Etsy. And then there's like rollover from Poshmark, it's a couple hundred, but
see, yours isn't made up, right? You make the design. I mean, there's all the work that's involved in that. Mine, I have to take a photograph in the studio, edit it, list it,
cheat a little
and
bit.
I'm always working on trying to make that faster because that takes time.
Maybe the intern could help with that too. Maybe you have a system where you bring them X amount of stuff, you give them the white box.
Taking pictures?
Yeah, maybe.
I think, you know what?
You take them?
I take them.
Got it.
I think because the routine is so set. But
yeah.
I think, like we talked about before, you can take any project, break it down into steps. So I may not have them take the picture, but I may have them put my logo on each picture and name them correctly and then go to the next one. Because once in a while, I need a picture from a couple years ago and I want to be able to find it. So I do name my pictures and I do put them in named folders.
Okay.
So
yeah. That's huge.
I'm a Virgo, by the way. I don't know if you believe in that, but I'm a Virgo Libra. So I'm a very organized, spontaneous person.
It's so weird. When I kind of started for a long time, I didn't have any system. I didn't have any routine. I was just going with the flow. It was a lot of fun, but I feel so good now about how things are, and
Didn't you burn out doing it that way though? Because
it was very overwhelming.
Stress.
I had a lot of clients. I was doing their social media. There was all this new data coming into my mind, so I was like thinking about their ecosystems, and I must say my ecosystem didn't really thrive as good until I kind of let some of that go and they let some of me go, because I was able to really hone in
Right.
on being a designer. And I don't think I really hit my streak until almost, I feel good at design, but I feel like I'm now a designer, and I don't think it hit till almost around COVID.
That is a good distinction.
Yeah.
You can do designs, but now you are creating a whole world
Yeah.
that you're designing within the designs on the shirts. When did you start in business?
16 years ago. But it was more just me. Hey, I got some shirts.
Ah, okay.
Got some shirts. Buy one, $20. So even at that point, I wasn't even an LLC till about maybe 8 years ago.
Well, you can skate through quite a lot without being. Yeah. You could be a sole proprietor.
I had the business license, but I was an LLC. But
right.
I would say about 13 years ago, business.
I only incorporated when I started selling on Amazon more full time, and I guess I was trying to protect my business, my assets, and also thought it made me look more professional to have Hey Viv Inc. So yeah. I'm a subchapter S, and I think it was the right move, but I probably could have done an LLC. And that is a question that people in our kind of business struggle with. Do I stay sole proprietor? Do I do an LLC? Do I do it in corporation? What are the benefits? Do I really need an accountant? Yes, you do. Yes. And do I need a business advisor? Yes. SCORE has people. There's business groups in Staten Island that certainly can get you to the right people, a mentor, or maybe enroll you in a program where you learn what you want to learn. But definitely, this doesn't happen in a vacuum. Even though you're at home working, you have interns, you have customers, you have to keep learning. So whether you're going to read an article about something new, writing a blog about something you don't know about, so you're using that as an excuse to do the research.
Yep.
You have to keep your mind busy learning. It never stops. Yeah.
I've been kind of told, like, how do you shut off? And I'm like, no, this is who I am. It's just, I'm sharing it for what I do. Like,
right.
It's hard for me to sit around and really think too long about like wrestling or the game. Like a lot of that just kind of comes and goes. I'll be like, yeah, Roman Reigns, he's going to be Cody at WrestleMania. I don't think about it much else. I'm always kind of just thinking about how to evolve kind of creatively.
Yeah, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and say, I know what I have to do with that template.
Yeah.
Tomorrow. And sometimes I write it down so I won't forget. But sometimes I was just dreaming. And,
yeah.
And then I go the next morning and go, oh, no, that's not going to work. But
I try not to give myself a hard time about that, because I feel like in the past, maybe someone was like, oh, you're always thinking about your business. You're always thinking about this. Mm-hmm. And then in a way, it almost made me feel guilty. And I'm like, no, it's not that I'm always thinking about it. It's important. It's part of my life. I want to provide for everyone.
It is what you are.
And it's who I am, too.
Yes.
That's
the
part
difference.
of who I am. It's not
We don't have a job that you finish at 5 o'clock and you're done.
Yeah.
We have a job at 5 o'clock that you would look at the clock and say, can I squeeze another 20 minutes here?
Yeah.
Can I finish that project? What if I took those photographs?
Yeah.
I can't leave this till tomorrow. I've got to do it now.
So that's an interesting point, because here you are an artist, creative, but yet you have responsibility things too, not only just in your business, but you have a husband, you have 3 kids.
3 kids, right?
You know, they've all grown up. They're all doing amazing.
Right.
So how did you kind of manage the day-to-day life, family stuff, then with business? Do you have like a shut-off time? Do you have kind of a form?
Well, first I cloned myself.
There you go. All right.
Then I taught that for a second clone how to bake and wear an apron and make a roast. I involved my kids in some ways. Like, I used babysitters. You know, I had daycare because when I was at the store, I thought, oh, my kids can just be here in the store and it'll be so cute. No, it's not. It's terrible for them. Yeah. They were bored. They hated it. Well, I don't know if they hated it, but getting help. I'm very lucky. I have a completely supportive husband who does whatever needs to be done for the business, but also emotionally, and making me feel like, he's not questioning, why are you doing this? He's right there.
Got it. Yeah, he's great.
And my kids grew up working for me. So to make extra money, they would fold scarves, or they would make poodle socks, or they would package pop beads. So at various times, they've all worked for me. And when we were doing Dave de Dada events, they would be in them. So, for example, I think they were about 7 and 5. I had them sit at a table and play chess, and we dressed them in old-time clothes. And they were Picabia and Duchamp, and just pretending to be those artists during the performance. So it kept them busy. But they have been in videos with us. They've performed as the Mighty Men of Dada. And I think that has been an important thing, because they've seen what it's like to have a parent who works at something they love and is open about what happens. Like, I'm a more easygoing person when it comes to the performance art. And I like to see, let's put this out there and see what people make of it. So kids, I think, are intrigued by that, and they like that it's not a rule that they have to follow. Yeah. So it is hard to balance having children and a business, especially if you work for yourself. You have to turn it off. Yeah. There's no way I could bring it into the evening when my time was with them. Yeah. So I did have to learn. I used to use a couple tricks. I don't know if you ever use these, but when I finish at work, I'd shut everything down, and I'd go sit in a chair kind of midpoint just for a few seconds. And it was a visual and a feeling cue to myself that I'm leaving work. And now I'm getting up and I'm going home. And I learned to do some things that signaled to my body and my brain that I was done with work.
Got it.
I don't think I do it so well anymore, because I work, even when I come home, I go back to work, because I work with Dave de Dada stuff. So I'll come home from, I work at home, so I'll come from the 3rd floor, sit down at the computer downstairs, and launch right into Dave de Dada. So I keep them on. I use 2 separate computers. One is for work and one is for Dave de Dada, so that I'm not mixing them all the time.
Got it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, your kids are a little older now, so
they're grown. They're married.
Yeah, they're
one of them's
they're
an
with
art
their
teacher.
families. So I guess you have a little bit more free time. But
you fill in.
Yeah.
Like, Dave de Dada is so much a part of my life, and I work on it probably every day.
Nice.
So. Yeah.
So my question to you is too, people always say the R word, retirement.
I was trying to think.
What's your take? What's your take on that? Because I have friends counting down the days. I also have friends that say, Dave, I'm worried. I'm worried when I'm going to retire. I don't know what else I have besides my job. And I don't know what I'm going to do. I have friends now that are like, Dave, if you have anything you want me to if you want to start something, like, I have money, but I don't feel connected to anything. I love my kids. I want to be there for them, but I want to have something that drives me when I'm done with just making money. He's like, when I leave work, I don't think about it at all. I want to have something that drives me. That's why they
say have a side gig.
Yeah,
and it doesn't even have to be a paid side gig. It could be a hobby. It could be you volunteer someplace, or you're interested in orchids and you grow orchids. I never see myself retiring. I think if I, for some reason, had to retire tomorrow, I'd be at the kitchen table starting another business by the next day.
Kind of need that fire.
I'm wired that way.
Yeah.
What I am doing is being more flexible in taking days off. We've had some family situations with older family members where I really need to take off and be with them. Yeah. And in the years ago, I would have just been so wound tight. I can't take the time off. I have stuff to do. I have so much stuff to do. Now it's like, okay, this trumps my need to get stuff done. I've got to go do this. So I have to mentally clear my head. I can bring work with me, but I have to do this. This has to be done. So I have become more flexible in taking time off. And speaking of retirement, my husband's retiring this month. Oh.
Congrats.
Oh,
Yeah.
he is so happy. We got him a cake the other day.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Well deserved.
Yes. So, and he is going to be gardening and fixing things and making things, and I will have him running Viv de Dada. That's my secret evil plan. I hope he's not listening.
Wow.
What was the question? Oh, retirement.
Yeah, our word. Yeah.
So I see myself maybe taking a 4-day weekend so he and I can do something together and being more understanding that I'm going to take some time off.
Got it.
So,
I totally agree. I give everyone a warning that I'm close to. I'm like, I'm not. If you want to plan something with me in 30 years, I'll be ready. Just we got to plan it because I'm going to be overseeing things.
Right.
I'm not going to be probably hunched over a machine printing shirt. Maybe just for physical fun to prove that I could do it. But but I don't see myself retiring
your
at all.
business might morph into more about you teaching people how to run a business.
That seems to be.
Or being a mentor to people who are starting up or changing their business. Because my business over 30-something years has changed dramatically. Sometimes pivoting. I'm pivoting even now. That's why I'm trying to figure out my SEO and I'm looking for a mentor because of COVID.
Yeah.
It really changed what I was selling, and now I'm trying to figure out what is my direction now.
Yeah.
But I'm not letting that slow me down or stop me. I get a little sad about it sometimes because it's not as I pictured it. Like you have an image of what your business is going to do, but the reality is maybe people aren't buying these little wonderful scarves anymore. But I love the scarves. I want to buy more scarves. People aren't buying them. Stop buying the scarves, will you?
You have to hit
But I want to buy the scarves, so I have these little
realization.
arguments with myself.
Got it. Yeah. No, I think those are important to have because there's our reality that we think is real, but then there's the reality of life, and then sometimes it doesn't always meet, or sometimes we have to find these little tactics to make it real, right? Like or get the word out where the people could find our products. Because you're right, maybe people just don't know to find them, or they're not
Right.
You didn't find them.
But it's also, they may not be buying it because they don't know about it. It just also, the trends are changing, and you have to keep an open mind. It's kind of back to the open mind.
Yeah.
Okay, so these scarves aren't selling anymore. What is selling? Oh, I bought some wallets. They sold, but they were kind of different. So now I'm on the look for different wallets. Whereas years ago, I never would have sold a wallet. I wouldn't even think to sell a wallet. Pop beads. I sell a lot of pop beads because it's a nostalgic item. I lucked out, bought a box of pop beads. They sold so well, I bought more, and now it's one of my biggest sellers.
Wow.
So just keeping open to not saying, this is how my business is, this is how it must stay, and I must work my ass off until I make it so. It's more like, this is what my business is, this is what's happening, this is what people are buying. How am I going to be flexible and adept enough to change with it?
Yeah. It's a lot of listening, being aware,
Right.
and then it's cool. I think stuff like that just keeps us sharp in our own way, right? I always hear that oh they're older, but they're so smart, or it's like, no, like I feel like if people have something that drives them, they're sharp with it, and they want
I can't imagine doing anything else. I really can't. I haven't had a job in so long. I mean, this is a job, but
I haven't either.
I had a regular job in my 20s.
That's great. That's
in an office.
That's the dream right there.
Right.
But
with that dream, there is pressure. There is uncertainty. There is feast and famine. You have great sales, and then nothing or so little, you start getting worried. And then you run a sale. You do this. You meet some people. You try this software. Oh, sales are coming back. Okay. We're okay now. Keep going. That's what it is.
What's your take on the people say it nowadays, being outside? You're clearly outside a lot in terms of doing events. from what I see, you're probably outside more than most people, and you say you're inside working on the business too. So
Right.
how do you pick and choose your events? Because you do more events than I think anyone I know.
Well, that is something I changed a couple years ago with COVID when things were changing. I said, well, you know what? I'm going to try going back to doing a live event. I did the Makerpark Christmas fair that was held outside in the park. I'm looking at it now. It was so cold. I was wearing two coats. Mm-hmm. And I just grabbed a bunch of stuff, put it out on tables, and we were all like shivering and wearing gloves. And I sold so much that day. I said, oh my, should I go back to doing live shows? Yes. And now I do at least one a month, sometimes more, depends. I have a kit all set up. I'm really organized in how I have it. It looks a little messy because it should. It should look like, ooh, I want to look through that pile of scarves.
Yeah.
But underneath it all, it's like lists and bins and labels, and I know where everything is. But thanks to that freezing cold day at Makerpark, where
I remember that. I was outside too.
Yes. Oh yeah, were you selling at it? Because I
was making hats actually. I brought a generator in my hat press.
Oh my gosh.
I was like I was like, I'm outside. I could use the generator.
Okay.
So that's cool. I'm happy the events are going well for you. That
was a shot in the dark, and now, or shot not in the dark because it was daylight, but it was like, let's take a chance. Mm-hmm. Now, for the past couple of years, Snug Harbor has been doing something called Cottage Row Curiosities every month, and it started small. It's been building. Third Saturday of the month in Snug Harbor on that road where the little cottages are. They always have live music or a DJ. They have food. The snack bar's open. Nice. Egger's ice cream. The vendors change. People come and go. I can't do it this time. I'll do it the next time. And my little booth has grown and grown and grown until I am now hauling Hawaiian shirts and fancy gloves and all sorts of things that I think people might want. And it's the best thing for me, and I always encourage people to at least try it. Share a table if you don't want to pay the whole fee. Yeah. Try it because you'll be surprised at how many people are passing through. And Snug Harbor is putting a lot of effort behind it. They are promoting. They are organized. They are pushing it because it benefits them.
Yeah.
Right?
So
thank you, Snug Harbor. Thank you, Jenny Kelly. And thank you, Eric, whose last name I can't pronounce.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, so it's just so cool to hear your story, the humble beginnings.
I didn't even get to tell you about how I walked barefoot in vintage clothing through the snow to go to stores, to go to school. No.
Oh, wow.
No. Actually, can I tell you one story real quick?
Yeah,
all right. People ask me how I started doing this. I grew up going to thrift stores with my dad.
Wow.
My father wore almost exclusively thrifted clothing, and he knew Pima cotton. He knew the little tab at the top and the little stays in the collar and how the cuffs were made. And look at this double sewn seam. Check the label. That's a good quality label. Tells you something about the garment. In fact, let's hold it up. Look how it's falling. Oh my gosh, your mom would look great in this. Let's get it for her. Like, he really loved to look at clothing. So I went with him. For a time, I resented it. Oh, Dad. Oh, don't wear that plaid jacket, please. Because he was a plaid jacket, Harris tweed, bow tie wearing teacher. Wow. And when I went to college and realized, going to thrift stores on my own, and I realized how much he had taught me and how much I enjoyed going. So I credit him with really giving me that first experience.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. That's my humble beginning.
He was molding you.
Yes.
You didn't even realize. I think when we're young, we kind of have this rebellious, I don't want to be here feeling, but we don't know we're being molded, or we're being kind of carved, or...
He was sharing.
Yeah. And
what
he was sharing
knew.
His passion and love for you.
Yes. And I liked it and I didn't like it. I mean, when I got to be a teenager, I was like, I don't know. I just kind of rolled my eyes because he would talk to everybody. And
Interesting.
guess how I am.
I was going to say interesting. Wow.
Hey, I brought something for you today.
Oh, really?
Did you notice that I'm wearing your button?
I saw the Shaolin pin.
I'm wearing
really
Dave's
cool.
Shaolin pin and two Hey Viv buttons.
Oh, wow.
This is an older one. It was
like
the
the
second
yellow.
design.
Nice.
And then this is the present one that we use.
That's like a pink?
Yep.
The lighting. Yeah, yeah.
And it says Hey Viv Retro, and it
wow.
has little stars, and that's for
Wow,
you.
Thank you.
And some stickers.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Sure.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
That way we can share. We've
Appreciate
shared
it.
our buttons. We promote for each other.
Thank you.
Sure.
So what a journey it's been for you. And
Mm-hmm.
I love the fact that there's no sign of stopping. And it's like a true definition of don't stop dreaming.
Right.
You started off, you didn't even realize the inspiration your father gave you.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of just kept taking shots in the dark and just going with your heart at the same time. But then you became calculated,
Mm-hmm.
and you constantly just stayed open to learning and
Yes.
exploring and like not being stuck in your ways, but sticking to who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I just
Yes.
love that. And just being diligent, but then painting outside the box and just breaking the box of just, because I love that you have the structure with your business, but then the Dave de Dada, it is just so out the box, and it's
Right. But underneath, it's very structured.
yeah.
It's very organized.
Mm.
Yes.
Because the experience, I must say, I've been to many events, and I can't really remember a lot of what I've seen, but I can remember the experiences Dave de Dada, the few that I've been to,
Right.
they all have stuck with me.
Right.
And
They resonate.
I remember painting a portrait with my hands,
Yes.
with no hands, with my teeth
Yes.
outside at Snug Harbor. I remember writing, like, there was something writing in there were just experiences, and I just love that, and I love that you encourage others to dream and to have fun and just be creative.
Thank you. I like your motto, don't stop dreaming.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can all keep that in mind and try to live that way, that's a good thing.
It's so important to me, and I'm happy to live by it. I had no other choice. I'm like, I've told thousands of people.
Didn't you want to be an accountant? Really? Come on. H&R Block is hiring.
Yeah, so I'm just grateful. And so where could people connect with you, find all the goods, all the
Sure.
amazing stuff?
Everything that I do in the clothing business is done under the Hey Viv, HEYVIV, with an exclamation point. But even just write Hey Viv, and on any marketplace, my stuff will come up. And my website is heyviv.com. And all of my social media is at Hey Viv Retro. But even if you did at Hey Viv, I'd come up. All of the art is under Dave de Dada. That's DayDeDada, DayDeDada.com. And all of our social media is also under Dave de Dada. So it kind of makes it easier to find us. We're very consistent. And the next thing we have coming up with Dave de Dada is a mail art experience at Art on the Terrace on March 10th at their closing party for their current show. We are inviting people to let your art go free with a stamp. We'll provide all the materials. They can come in, create something artistic, and then we're going to mail it to people. So you come in with your address book. We'll give you all the supplies to make a wonderful art project, and then we're going to put a stamp on it. You put the address, and it's going to go winging its way through the post office and spread your art around.
That's awesome.
Yep, that's the next thing.
Make sure to connect with Hey Viv. Her journey is inspiring. Her hustle, her community work is just inspiring. And Viv, thank you for all you do. Thanks for just being an example of someone who's really out there living their dreams.
Thank you. I feel inspired to be here. It's really wonderful, your energy, And to talk to somebody who understands what I do and has a feeling for the same kinds of things, it's a pleasure. Thank you, Dave.
No problem.